My wife didn't cheat on me with some random guy at a bar. She didn't cheat with a coworker, a neighbor, or an old flame from high school. No. What my wife did was far worse than any of those things, and honestly, I still have trouble saying it out loud even now. My wife had an affair with my father-in-law, her own father. The man who gave a toast at our wedding, who called me son, who shook my hand every Sunday at dinner and looked me straight in the eye while his daughter and he were doing things behind my back that make my stomach turn just thinking about. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because this story has more twists than I ever could have imagined, and by the end, I promise you, karma delivered in ways I never thought possible. My name is Derek. I'm 38 years old, and I work as a software engineer for a mid-sized company based out of Austin. Most of my work is remote, but I travel maybe once or twice a month for on-site meetings and client presentations. I married my wife Natalie when we were both 26. She's a real estate agent, and a good one too, or at least she was. We lived in a small town about 40 minutes outside of San Antonio. One of those places where everyone knows your name, your business, and what you had for breakfast. We bought a nice 4-bedroom house right after the wedding, partly with help from Natalie's parents. Her father, Victor, was a retired Army officer. 58 years old, built like a brick wall. The kind of man who commands a room without saying a word. He had this quiet authority about him that made everyone respect him, including me. Especially me. Victor taught me how to grill a proper brisket, took me hunting on his property twice a year, and even helped me install a new deck on the back of our house. I genuinely loved the man. Her mother, Diane, was the sweetest woman you'd ever meet. Church every Sunday, volunteered at the food bank, made the best pecan pie in 3 counties. They seemed like the perfect couple, married 32 years, and I thought Natalie and I were building something just like what they had. We have a daughter, Lily. She was 4 at the time all of this happened. She's the reason I kept my head on straight through everything, because without her I don't know what I would have done. Now, because of my job, I installed a Ring doorbell camera and 2 exterior security cameras when we moved in. Standard stuff. I also had a Nest camera in the living room that I originally set up as a baby monitor when Lily was born and just never took down. I'll be honest, I barely checked any of these cameras. They were more for peace of mind than anything else. That changed in March of last year. I was in Denver for a 3-day work trip. On the second night, I was in my hotel room, going over some code when my phone buzzed with a Ring notification. Motion detected at front door. I almost swiped it away. I get those notifications all the time, usually a delivery driver or a stray cat. But something made me tap it. And there, clear as day at 2 in the afternoon, was my father-in-law's truck pulling into our driveway. Victor got out, walked straight to the front door, and let himself in. He had a key. I'd given it to him myself for emergencies. Now, on its own, that's not suspicious. Maybe he was checking on the house while I was away. Maybe Natalie asked him to fix something, but something about it didn't sit right with me. I went back through the Ring history, and that's when my blood went cold. Over the past 6 weeks, Victor's truck appeared in my driveway 9 times. Every single time was when I was either at work or traveling. He'd arrive, stay for 2 to 4 hours, and leave. Not once did Natalie mention any of these visits to me. Not a single time. I couldn't sleep that night. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe they were planning a surprise party for my birthday coming up in April. Maybe he was helping her with some house project she wanted to keep secret. I ran through every possible innocent scenario because the alternative was something I could not allow myself to think about. Not yet. When I got home from Denver, I acted completely normal. Kissed my wife, played with my daughter, had dinner like nothing was wrong. But that night, after Natalie fell asleep, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her phone. She was careful. There were no obvious texts, no suspicious call logs. But I noticed she had a second messaging app buried in a folder labeled Utilities. Inside were messages between her and a contact saved simply as V. The messages were not ambiguous, they were explicit, graphic. Things I will never repeat because they are burned into my memory, and I wish they weren't. The timestamps matched perfectly with the Ring camera footage. Every single visit. I put her phone back on the nightstand, went to the bathroom, and threw up. Then I sat on the floor for maybe an hour, just staring at the wall. My wife was sleeping with her own father, the man I called Dad, the man who bounced my daughter on his knee. I wanted to walk in there and scream, flip the mattress, throw things. But I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because of something my grandfather told me before he passed. He said, "Son, anger is a fire. You can let it burn your house down, or you can use it to forge steel." That night, I chose steel. Update. The next 2 weeks were the hardest performance of my life. I acted like a loving husband, a grateful son-in-law, a normal man living a normal life. Meanwhile, I was building a case. First, I went to see a divorce attorney named Hector Reyes. Hector is known in our area as the guy you hire when you don't want to lose. He's got a 93% success rate in contested divorces, charges a fortune, but I didn't care. I emptied my personal savings to put him on retainer. Hector told me that Texas is a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of adultery can absolutely influence the division of property and custody arrangements. He told me to get as much documentation as possible. So I did. I set up 2 additional hidden cameras inside the house. Small ones, the kind that look like phone chargers. One in the living room, one in the master bedroom hallway. I know how that sounds. But I needed proof that would hold up, and I needed it to be undeniable. Over the next 10 days, I captured 3 more visits from Victor. The living room camera caught them on the couch. I didn't watch the full footage. I didn't need to. 30 seconds was enough for Hector to confirm we had what we needed. During this time, I also discovered something else. Natalie's real estate income had been declining for months, but her spending hadn't. New designer bags, spa weekends, a Peloton bike that appeared in the garage while I was in Phoenix. When I dug into our joint bank statements, I found regular cash deposits that didn't match any commission checks. 500 here, 800 there, sometimes 1,000. I confronted Natalie casually, said I noticed some deposits and asked if she'd closed a deal I didn't know about. She said it was a bonus from her brokerage. I called the brokerage the next day, pretending to ask about tax documents. There was no bonus. Victor was giving her cash. Her own father was essentially paying her. I called my mother. She's the only person I told during this phase. Mom is 71 years old, tough as nails, grew up on a ranch in West Texas. When I told her what was happening, there was silence on the line for about 30 seconds. Then she said, "You make sure that girl and her daddy never see daylight again in a courtroom. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "That's exactly what I'm going to do." Update. Hector and I spent the next 3 weeks preparing everything. We had camera footage, screenshots of the messages, bank records showing the cash deposits from Victor, and a timeline cross-referenced with my travel schedule. Hector also had me document every instance of Natalie lying about Victor's visits. It was airtight, but I didn't just want to file papers and let the system handle it. I wanted them to know that I knew, and I wanted everyone to know what they did. My birthday was on April 12th, and Natalie, God bless her audacity, was planning a big barbecue at our house. She invited her parents, my mother, my sister Janet, a few neighbors, and some friends from church, about 30 people total. She had no idea that I was planning something of my own. The morning of the barbecue, I set up a projector screen in the backyard. Told Natalie I wanted to show a slideshow of family photos, maybe some clips of Lily's first steps, that kind of thing. She thought it was sweet. She even helped me hang the screen. Victor arrived early to help with the brisket, just like he always did. He clapped me on the back and said, "Happy birthday, son." I looked him in the eye, smiled, and said, "Thanks, Dad. It means a lot having you here." And I meant it. I wanted him right there for what was about to happen. The party was going well. People were eating, kids were running around. Someone had brought a Bluetooth speaker playing country music. Around 4 in the afternoon, I clinked a beer bottle and asked everyone to gather around the screen. I said I wanted to share something special. Natalie was standing next to her mother, smiling. Victor was leaning against the fence with a plate of potato salad. My mother was sitting in a lawn chair near the back. She was the only one who knew. I connected my laptop to the projector. The first thing that appeared on the screen was a Ring camera clip. Victor's truck pulling into our driveway on a Tuesday afternoon. People murmured, not sure what they were looking at. Then I played the second clip. Victor walking through our front door. Then a third. Then a fourth. Different dates, same pattern. I narrated calmly. That's March 3rd, that's March 10th, that's March 19th, that's April 2nd. Each time I was out of town for work. Natalie's smile disappeared. Victor set his plate down. The yard was dead silent except for the crickets. Then I played the living room camera footage. I'll spare you the details, but it was unmistakable. 2 seconds was all it took. Diane screamed. I mean, she actually screamed. This guttural, broken sound that I will hear in my nightmares. Natalie dropped her drink and started running toward me, saying, "Derek, stop. Please let me explain." Victor didn't move. He just stood there, jaw clenched, staring at the ground like a man who knew his entire life was over. I stopped the video. I said, and I remember every word because I rehearsed it 100 times. "I trusted you both with my life. I called you Dad. I built my family around you. And you repaid me by desecrating my home, my marriage, and my daughter's family. This is not a conversation. This is a notification. My attorney has already filed for divorce. Victor, your wife will be receiving documentation of everything by end of day. I'm done." The silence that followed was deafening, then chaos. Diane collapsed into a chair, sobbing. My sister Janet grabbed Lily and took her inside, away from the scene. Natalie was on her knees in the grass, crying, saying it wasn't what it looked like, which is an interesting thing to say about video evidence. Victor finally spoke. He said one word. Derek. That's all. Just my name. I didn't respond. I walked inside, locked the door, and sat with my daughter while my mother handled getting everyone out of the yard. Update. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. For them, not for me. Within 48 hours, the entire town knew. In a place this small, 30 witnesses at a barbecue might as well be a billboard on the highway. Diane filed for divorce from Victor within a week. 32 years of marriage gone. Victor moved out of their house and into a motel off the interstate. His military buddies, the guys he'd served with for 20 years, stopped returning his calls. His own brother told people he was dead to their family. Natalie tried everything. She called me 67 times in the first week. I know because I counted. She showed up at the house twice, and both times I had the sheriff escort her off the property. She sent letters. She had her mother call me. She even showed up at my office in Austin, which got her a trespassing warning from building security. Her realtor license was suspended after her brokerage found out about the scandal and decided they didn't want the association. In a small town, reputation is everything, and hers was destroyed. Meanwhile, Hector was doing what Hector does best. Given the documented adultery, the judge awarded me primary custody of Lily with supervised visitation for Natalie. I got the house. I got both vehicles. Natalie was ordered to pay a portion of her future earnings toward Lily's support, which was almost ironic given that she had no income anymore. The cash deposits from Victor were entered into evidence as proof of his direct involvement in the affair, which further damaged Natalie's credibility. But here's where it gets interesting. During the divorce proceedings, Natalie's own attorney let something slip during a deposition. It came out that the affair had been going on for almost 3 years, before Lily was even born, which meant there was a possibility, a horrible, sickening possibility, that Lily might not be my biological daughter. Hector immediately requested a paternity test. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks waiting for those results. I want you to understand something. Lily is my daughter. She's mine. I've been there since the first ultrasound. I cut the cord. I was the one who walked the floor with her at 3 in the morning when she had colic. Biology or not, that child is mine. But I needed to know. The results came back. Lily is mine. 100% confirmed. When I read that paper, I sat in my truck in the parking lot of the lab and cried harder than I've cried in my entire life. Not from sadness. From relief so intense it felt like my chest was going to explode. Update. About 4 months after the barbecue, something happened that I did not expect. Diane, my now ex-mother-in-law, called me. She asked if we could meet for coffee. I almost said no, but Diane had never been anything but kind to me, and she was a victim in all of this just as much as I was. So I agreed. We met at a diner outside of town. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. She told me that Victor had been having affairs for most of their marriage. She'd suspected it for years but never had proof. She said finding out about Natalie destroyed something in her that she didn't know could break. She said that when she saw that video at the barbecue, the first thing she thought wasn't about Victor or Natalie. She thought about Lily. She asked me, her voice shaking, if she would still be allowed to see her granddaughter. I told her yes, because Diane didn't do this, and Lily loves her grandmother. We agreed on regular visits, and to this day, Diane picks Lily up every other Saturday for pancakes and a trip to the park. She's become one of my strongest allies. Life is strange like that. As for Victor, his divorce from Diane cost him dearly. She got the house, half his military pension, and his hunting property. He tried to fight it, but the evidence of his long history of infidelity was overwhelming. Last I heard, he's living in a studio apartment in Corpus Christi, working part-time at a hardware store. The man who once commanded a battalion now stocks shelves for $11 an hour. I don't say that to gloat. I say it because actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences are proportional to the damage you caused. Natalie eventually moved to Houston. She got a waitressing job and shares a 1-bedroom apartment with a roommate. She has supervised visitation with Lily once a month, and to her credit, she hasn't missed one yet. She's in therapy, which I hope is genuine and not for show. For Lily's sake, I hope her mother gets her life together. But I will never forgive what she did. Forgiveness has limits, and she found mine. Update. Now I need to tell you about Rachel, because she's an important part of this story, and I want to be honest about how we got together. Rachel is a project manager at my company. We'd worked together for about 2 years before any of this happened. She's smart, funny, has this dry sense of humor that catches you off guard. During my worst months, the weeks after the barbecue when I was barely functioning, Rachel was the coworker who quietly covered for me when I couldn't focus, who left a coffee on my desk without saying a word, who sent me a text one night that just said, "You're going to get through this, and if you need someone to talk to, I'm here, no strings." We didn't start dating until 8 months after my divorce was finalized. I want to be clear about that. I was not going to be the kind of man who jumps from one relationship into another. I needed to heal. I needed therapy, which I got. I needed to learn how to be a single father, which I did. And I needed to figure out who I was without the weight of betrayal crushing my chest every morning when I woke up. Rachel and I got dinner one night after a work event. Just two people who'd been through hard things, finding that they laughed at the same jokes and felt comfortable in the same silences. It wasn't fireworks and explosions. It was calm. It was safe. And after everything I'd been through, safe felt like the most beautiful thing in the world. Rachel met Lily about 3 months into our relationship. She didn't try to be her mom. She was just Rachel, the nice lady who played Legos on the living room floor and made really good grilled cheese. Lily took to her immediately. Kids can sense good people. I truly believe that. Update. It's been a little over a year now since the barbecue that changed everything. I'm sitting on the deck that Victor helped me build, watching Lily chase fireflies in the backyard, while Rachel reads a book in the chair next to me. The town still talks. Small towns always talk. But the narrative shifted. I'm not the guy whose wife cheated on him anymore. I'm the guy who handled it with a spine and came out the other side. People respect that. Men come up to me at church and shake my hand a little harder than they used to. Women tell me I'm a good father. The pastor told me last Sunday that he admires my strength, which was nice to hear, even though most days I don't feel particularly strong. I just feel like a man who did what he had to do. I think about Victor sometimes. Not with hatred, not anymore. Hatred is heavy, and I got tired of carrying it. I think about him the way you think about a car accident you survived. You remember the impact, the fear, the broken glass. But eventually, you stop flinching every time you get behind the wheel. You drive again. You live again. Natalie sent me a letter last month, handwritten, 4 pages. She apologized. Not the kind of apology where someone explains why they did what they did. A real apology. The kind where someone says, "I destroyed something precious and I know I can never fix it and I'm sorry." I read it once, put it in a drawer, and haven't looked at it again. Maybe someday I'll read it a second time. Maybe not. But I appreciated that she finally stopped making excuses. My mother asked me recently if I regret how I handled the barbecue. If I think it was too much, too public, too cruel. I thought about it for a long time. And here's what I told her. I said no, I don't regret it. Because the thing about betrayal on that scale is that it thrives in secrecy. It survives in whispers and locked phones and hidden cameras. The only way to kill it is with light. And on April 12th, at 4 in the afternoon, in front of 30 people and a projector screen, I turned on every light in the house. Some people will say I should have handled it privately. Some people will say I went too far. But those people have never sat on a bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, reading messages between their wife and her father, feeling like the ground beneath them dissolved into nothing. When you've been through that, you earn the right to decide how you walk out of it. I walked out standing up, and I'm never looking back.